Hi, this is Sean Higgins. Welcome back. And I want to address something that I'm seeing in the news, and I've had a couple people comment to me on this. What's going to happen if Russia invades Ukraine or we send troops or what have you? And that's interesting, and it is serious.
And the invasion has begun. The ominous sound of sirens overnight in the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv.
It's not that I don't pay attention to that stuff. After 30 years of going through several real estate crashes, from the one in the early 90s, the dot-com bubble, 9/11, another real estate major crash in 08-09 that most of you saw happen. Also, you got the pandemic that just happened there. Keep your nose to the grindstone. Find the opportunity, be able to pivot, and you're going to be okay. Like the latest thing in the news is interest rates. How's that going to affect the real estate market? Yet in January, we had more homes sold than any other time. Again, sometimes that almost can be an excuse not to move forward because you're waiting for the perfect opportunity. And just don't. Keep looking at properties. So let's get down to another phase of research. Let's say, maybe it's in a market that you already know or a market that you don't know that you would like to know better. So if I'm in Sacramento and I want to start investing in Phoenix, Arizona, Nashville, Tampa, it doesn't really matter where, Denver, Colorado. There's a couple of things that I want to find out right away. First of all, I want to know what the median price, the average price of a piece of real estate in that area. Now, this is a little trick that I started doing a long time ago. So for instance, if I'm looking at Delray Beach, Florida, okay, let's just say that's just south of Fort Lauderdale. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to find the average price of a home. Why? Because then it's going to tell me what any property I'm looking at, where that is in the spectrum. So if I'm looking at Dallas, Texas, and I find the average price of homes is $350,000, and I'm looking at a home that's wholesaled out at $200,000, I know I'm below the average. It's a real quick way to kind of test the area to find out what neighborhood I'm in. Whereas the opposite side of that, I found one down in, I think it was Palm Beach recently, a $940,000 property, ARV actual or after rehab value was $1.6 million. But the average price in that area was about, I think it was $700,000. So obviously just I don't need to know anything more than it's probably in a nicer neighborhood. So when you find the average in an overall area, it doesn't matter where you're at within that. So if I take the greater Sacramento area and I find the average price of a home is $375,000 and I'm looking at a home for $700,000, I know I'm in an above average area. Very simple way to do it. Number one. Number two, school districts, okay? Real quickly, best school districts by zip code. That's gonna also tell you good school districts, good neighborhoods. It just works out that way. Now, a lot of times, I need to find a realtor in the area. With the advent of the internet, you really can do most of this work yourself. There's PropStream, there's all of these different technologies out there to get real values of property. Zillow, Trilio, all of those interesting. Okay, but let me tell you how I determine values on property real quickly. Now, again, I can be off a little bit because I'm getting property at such a discount. If I'm looking at Zillow, for example, okay, I only want to look at properties that have sold. I don't care what's on the market. In the last 3 months, what sold, how many square feet of it is it, and I divide it. That's my number. So if I'm dividing the sell price into the square footage and I'm getting $197 per square foot and I'm getting that consistently, 180, 200, right in that area, that's what the price of properties are in that area. I don't care if they're storing gold in the basement, okay? So one of the things that, again, I can track real quickly on a piece of property is exactly that. So once I know what the median price of properties are in the neighborhood, what square foot is the property I'm looking, subject property I'm looking at, now I know where I need to be at, okay? So it's real, again, it just becomes math because I'm not taking into consideration whether the sun is hitting the dining room at the right angle in the morning and stuff like that, because it's not emotional, it's business. Properties, supply and demand, properties do not sell for more than they're worth. Okay. Gosh, I got and a lot of you got a big lesson of that during the crash back in '09. Well, I paid $500,000 for the property. It's not worth that anymore. Okay. If somebody will only pay $325, sorry, but that's what it is. So when I'm going into a market and I'm seeing that properties are selling for $197, $225, whatever the case is, that's what it is. I do the multiple in the area, and that's what the property will be worth if it's marketable. Now, let me talk about that. I'm doing so many wholesale deals. An example of this is I was looking at a property yesterday. Matter of fact, that was at $940,000 wholesale deal on a $1.6 million ARV, actual after rehab value. And I'm looking at this thing, and it's sometimes hard because I'm looking at this property and they're taking the camera and they're going through there, and I'm a little OCD. I like my stuff where it is. And there's stuff piled up everywhere. And I've got to get beyond that and go, if I took all of that stuff out and painted it and cleaned it, this is what I like to refer to as the mop and glop. I'm pretty good. It definitely needed some modernization. There's a big word. I need to modernize it. Kitchens, bathrooms, and stuff like that. If I wanted to get full retail on it. Now, I'm going to let you in on a little secret of mine. I very rarely will do that. Okay. If I can paint the inside, get it cleaned out, do some basic landscaping on the outside, maybe, and I can get close to retail on it, I very rarely will go in and really fix up a property that's in that condition. I mean, if I'm taking all their personal belongings out, in my head, and I just go in there and I paint and clean up a little bit and I'm good. Okay. If it needs to have an updated kitchen and bathrooms, I'm just not going to do it. But here's some research that I found out there. This is going to surprise a lot of you. Guess what room gets you the most value? Bathrooms. Yeah, believe it or not, a new kitchen doesn't, because most of the time you won't do what they will do. If you upgrade the bathroom, inexpensive to do so and super fast, that usually can bring some more value into a piece of property if you're going retail on it. So a couple of little plugs there, if you will, or recommendations, what I've learned in the past. Number one mistake with new investors that I'm seeing when I'm out in the field with you all is you want to do too much to a property. And my son is involved in this business, and I'm constantly asking him, will that make you any more money? Here's a perfect example. We had a property. It was on a corner lot. People were cutting through the back of the property because it had been abandoned until we got it. It was a complete rehab on it. And the guy that was doing the rehab says, we really should put a fence in the back because people are cutting through the back. And I'm going, look, that's going to be, and it was $1,800 for this fence. I go, that's $1,800 right out of my pocket. Let the new owners do that. In fact, sometimes I'll even go in and put samples of flooring. I won't even finish the flooring and say, I'll give you an allowance for that because they're just going to do something different anyways. Again, ask yourself over and over again, if I put in an $1,800 fence around that property, would that have brought me $4,000 in value? Remember those numbers I talked about? If it's not, then don't do it. Okay. Again, see how, your job is to get the product onto the market, a good product for someone else. Now, let me tell you something. If I'm keeping that property for rental, I'm going to do some things to that property because I don't want a renter that's calling me, for, problems and stuff like that. I want a good property and a good product because I want you to think about this. They're going out and getting a job to pay your bills. Treat them with respect. Okay. So there's a couple of things you're looking at. Don't worry about what the markets do out there. Don't worry about the mainstream news, whether it's Russia, Ukraine, or any of those things. Don't let that affect you. Keep your nose to the grindstone and keep at it. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell button. The support on this channel has been overwhelming. I'm super excited. You can tell by my super excited face on that. So keep that up and I'll keep cranking these out. This is Sean Higgins saying peace.